hockey. Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Welcome into Judd's Hockey Show. Only one wild game left. That is actually tonight. We're recording on Wednesday morning before the Olympic break. It is, of course, the Sports Dad. It's Jessi Pierce, NHL.com, covers the Wild. Also, Bar Down Beauties. Check out that podcast. I saw a real good discussion about the Miracle documentary from the 1980 Olympic team that Jessi loves, which is awesome, yesterday on Bar Down Beauties, and AJ Fredrickson, of course. Plenty to get to, more thoughts, rumors, what have you, as the the deadline freeze on trades comes up today, this afternoon, for the Olympic break, and then, of course, around the corner after that is the NHL trade deadline. But Jessi, before we get to that, let's talk about something far more important in your personal life. That's where you bank, where you decide to put your money.
You got to put your money somewhere safe. You got to work with people that you trust. You absolutely have to do it right. And I've always kind of stuck with my same old bank that I had. But then recently I said, you know what, let's make a change. Let's go to North American Banking Company. They made it so easy to not only switch over, but to continue to work with them. They've got mobile banking apps, online banking apps, whatever tools you want to need. And when I want to speak with a person, I get to head into any of their 6 Twin City locations. Again, switching banks, easy, no hassle with North American Banking Company. They made it that way. Go to nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com to learn more or visit a location near you. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Judd, you muted?
Judd, you're not on there at all.
I was muted. I'm sorry. I've done this before. I promise I will do it again. I'll get back to my question. I was asking a question here, which the dog heard, but you didn't. So now I'm going to give it to you. Was it last week when AJ infuriated the public, especially in Canada, with his Tim Stützle trade idea? That was last week's show, correct? And
that was last week, and they have not forgotten.
And that's at AJ Fredrickson on X, right?
On all socials, yeah.
Why are you doing that to him? Why are you doing that? I was asking a question because I was going to get to a name that I sent you guys last night, okay? So I think it was at like a team, I don't know, carnival, festival type of thing that the New Jersey Devils had a couple days ago. And there was a woman reporter asking questions, and I saw it asked to a few players about, why should fans what would you tell fans who are checking out on your team, which has gone south? The Devils are having a bad season now. And one of the players was Jack Hughes, who's hurt again. And he gave a very tepid response of, I wouldn't tell them anything. We just have to see if we can. It was as non-passionate of response. It was almost I don't even want to talk about a question. Do you guys think that Bill Guerin has or should? Well, he should. Do you guys think Bill Guerin has or will reach out aggressively at all on Jack Hughes, who of course is Quinn's brother? Quinn's contract's up in a year. After next season, Jack Hughes is signed much longer term, 2029-30 through that season. $8 million AAV, which is a bargain now with the salary cap going up, a complete bargain. And he does not have any trade protection until July 1st of this year on his contract. What do you guys think about that? Now, I will say the one thing about Jack, he's a great player. But in his career, he has only played one full season, and that was the 56-game COVID season in 2020-21. But, if we're going to talk about the Stützles, like we're going into the high-rent district, would you try and cut through the crap right now and get Jack Hughes with what we could talk about would be obviously, Jessi, an aggressive offer?
A few things here. I did do my due diligence, and I found out more than just that viral video clip of Jack Hughes basically brushing it off and making it seem like he doesn't care about the fans. He followed it up with, it took him a while to get to it, but he said, the team, I'm just focused. The team needs to get out. The fans will be fine. We need to get the team out of there. So the full context, obviously, of the quote was much more than that, where it wasn't like he was just kind of being like, we don't care about the fans, where that video definitely made it seem that way. But I did find the full extent of the quote where he's like, no, I'm just saying we need to focus on the team. It's on these guys in this room to get better. The fans aren't going to necessarily change that for us. So little devil's advocate for the New Jersey Devil, Jack Hughes. That is my biggest concern. I know that sounds crazy because Jack Hughes is is incredible, right? Like we know his skill set, we know how good he is. Brother relationship aside, he's a great asset to any team, especially the Minnesota Wild, who for 25 years have been dying for a number one center. But the injury prone, even in just random, insane situations, he gets hurt by going out to dinner with his team, right? Like he struggles. And I know that's been the heavy criticism on him from Devils fans, right? Like he's always hurt. He's just always, and I don't even know that it's necessarily the way that he plays. It's just for whatever reason, he's finding himself in these situations time and time again. But you'd be a fool to not knock on it. It'd be expensive. It'd be hard because New Jersey has built kind of this entire future around Jack Hughes and what he's capable of, and him being a number one overall pick, right? Was he was one, not two.
Mm-hmm.
He was okay. It's gonna cost you. So I don't know that Billy has everything he would need in order to acquire that. There's other Devils players that I think I would also tap on. Nico Hischier, I really like him as well. But yeah, I think you explore it. The Olympics make it that much sweeter because Billy's going to be able to grease some wheels there too. Be like, oh, Jack, can I carry that plate for you? Absolutely. We love this. So my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's great about this next break. We've got 3 weeks essentially to just let all of these stew, and we can throw out the most outlandish things if we want to, because there's nothing that's going to change. We can't talk to anybody. Nobody can disprove that anything we throw out here. In terms of Jack Hughes, though, you hit the nail on the head. He is, in terms of relation to the Wild, it's kind of like the Jonas Brodin thing, where when he's on the ice, he's fantastic. And obviously different tier player, different position overall. And a next level generational, franchise defining player. But he's not on the ice enough to where I think he would be a top option for me if you have a list of guys that you're going to trade a massive vault of goodies for. Is he on the list? Absolutely. Right now he's a point per game guy. He's got 36 points in 36 games played this year. But like Judd said, he's got one full season, and that was the shortened COVID year. So there isn't that reliability. There isn't that sustainability. I know he's out right now. He just missed his second straight game with a lower body injury, and their coach Sheldon Keefe is expecting him to try to play on Thursday. That being said, do you want to trade for a guy in a win-now type of window and situation for this team if you're Bill Guerin for a guy that has injury problems? For trying to capitalize, I would want to go about as safe and the list, you narrow it down where you have guys that check the boxes, and Jack Hughes makes the list solely because of his ability and his talent. But then when you whittle it down, I think they probably want a little bit of maybe somebody who's a little tougher, a little grittier. I'm not sure Jack Hughes checks those boxes. And then that deficiency mixed with the injury issues, I just think it kind of makes it not as desirable as some other guys who they might already have on their list. But at the end of the day, is the price there because now you have Quinn? And granted, they probably still expect, and there's probably a couple months ago idea where they're going to get Quinn at some point, whether it's a trade this year, they're going to wait 2 years and then just sign him in free agency, one of those things. But maybe stuff is shifted and we just don't know about it. Maybe now with this kind of down year behind the scenes, they have a different mindset of, you know what? This Hughes family circus, we don't want to be a part of anymore. This is our ticket out. This is a way that Bill Guerin is willing to just get us back to hockey reality, which
and just leave Luke there, just leave
there.
Luke in the swamp and be like, "Hey, dude, see you later. Fend for yourself. Good
well, then
luck."
you have the new two brothers together, right? Like, oh, now we get to cut Luke out of all the family photos, all of that type of stuff.
And
Well,
frankly,
Luke's a nice
the one
player.
that you want together.
And Luke's a nice player, and I think he's good, and he's going to improve. But I mean, if you've got Quinn and Jack, I mean, really, I will say this: the one thing is, if you get Jack on a contract that's good, and again runs through 29-30 season, then you get Quinn. Quinn's going to stick around. Like that's another reason to. But yeah, the injury thing is definitely concerning. So let's move on to a note I sent you guys last night as well. Now. Nick Kypreos is a former player who works for Sportsnet now. He gets some dirt, but keep in mind he's obviously not, Darren Dreger, Elliot Friedman. He's not in that class. But on Robert Thomas, who we've talked about a lot, okay, who, by the way, underwent a procedure on his leg and is out through the Olympic break, but it sounds like it was minor. He's probably day-to-day. Kypreos reports on Thomas of the Blues The price is astronomical, in the vicinity of something equivalent to 3 top 15 first-round picks. Blues GM Doug Armstrong's looking for a cachet in prospects and picks. I don't know what team would do that. Now, Robert Thomas is a very attractive option. Again, there's not a ton of upper echelon centers out there. Thomas is signed for the foreseeable future. So, Jessi, when you hear that, are you still interested in putting together a package for Robert Thomas?
Absolutely not. Like, no, that's just way too much, right? Like, we're not gonna do that. I love Robert Thomas. I love that option. I think that's one that I would check in on and see what you can. But especially, I think Age, you brought this up in our text thread yesterday, so I'll let you expand on it. But you're going to get overcharged because you're within the division too. Like St. Louis isn't just going to be like, yes, we would love for him to go play against us regularly with the Minnesota Wild and help improve your team. So you're going to get that division tax as well. And I just can't believe that anybody would be interested at that high of a price for Robert Thomas. Again, very good player. He's another guy though. He's hurt quite a bit. I feel like he's hurt quite more frequently, not as often as, maybe even Jack Hughes, but still I feel like right? Am I incorrect on that? I haven't checked his.
Last year he played 70, the year before 82, the year before that 73, 72.
So kind of ins and outs. So not terrible, not to the point where I guess it's a complete.
He's due to miss some time every year, it looks like.
He's not going out with his friends for a dinner in Chicago and cutting his hand off.
Yeah. God, what a wild situation that is, eh?
Wouldn't you love to know the real story?
Need to know the real story eventually. But,
and
that's the thing. If Jack comes here, I'll get to the bottom of it. I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be as hard.
The Hughes brothers are open books. They have so many friends, it sounds like, in the media as well. It's just great.
It's just so fantastic. But yeah, no, I mean, for that, I wouldn't even lower that price to half, maybe 60%. And I go like, I don't know. That's crazy, right?
So here's the question then. So this team needs a center. Like I really believe if they're going to make a playoff run, they've got and by the way, they're positioned really well now. It's not like they need a center and they need a defenseman and they need this and that. So where do you guys draw the line? Like what is like if we're talking about a Robert Thomas, if we're talking about where do we draw? Where should Bill Guerin draw a line here and say absolutely not? From the bin of Trocheck and that to the bin of Thomas. And then Stützle, who Age talked about, or a Hughes, where do we say no? We can't do that because at some point in time, aren't you taking the risk of undermining your chance of making a run? Which I get, but it's still a problem.
And here's the nice thing: who you're playing. You are playing the Dallas, right? Like they're getting closer to Colorado for sure, but it's 97% that you are going to play the Dallas Stars in the first round.
5 points back of the Avs, and the Stars are a point behind you and 6 points back of the Avs.
Yeah. So I mean, the race is tightened, but you've got a hand. I just look at what's going to best suit your matchup. My biggest not worry, I guess, is the big splashy name doesn't come until the off season. Maybe no. I'm just getting that sense. Like, I don't know. Cause I think now I think sometimes when Billy hears all the hubbub around it, like, oh, they need this. He's almost kind of like, well, I don't need to do it right now. I can wait until the off season. So I think you might see the Trocheck, or you might see more of a winger versus a big number one center, as much as that's what they need. We all know it. Like, again, 25 years. Let's celebrate that. Let's celebrate 25 years of needing a number one center this season. I don't know if he can do it. I don't know if he can pull it off in season before deadline in March.
My thing, and this is where I think I've drawn the line. I think Robert Thomas is on the side of the Stützle, of the whoever else. I think Vinny Trocheck's out of there. Like Vinny Trocheck, in my mind, is a notable step down. You're not trading a cache of guys. You're not trading, the list for Jesper Wallstedt to be moved when that rumor came out, I think a week or two ago or 3 weeks ago now. I said, I think it's a very short list. Rob Thomas is on there. I really, really like his game.
Can we call him Rob Thomas? Because then you think of Matchbox 20, right? Is that who it was? Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought of. And then I didn't like that because I couldn't stand it.
How about Bobby Thomas? So. I don't know. But yeah,
Bobby Thomas is good.
That sounds like a hockey player, actually.
Sounds like a hockey player.
But Robert Thomas, I like his game a lot. We've seen him. He's been in division. He's 26 years old. Granted, right now, yeah, he's hurt. And I'm sure, like Judd said, he's it's a minor injury that he'll be back after the Olympic break, but he is a guy that I think is worth ponying up for. The deal that I brought up last week, I would bring almost to the table, but maybe, and that's where the in-division tax probably comes into play because they don't want to see Robert Thomas. That being said, you're going to be seeing Jesper Wallstedt if you do it, where it's the 2027 first, and that's not a top 15 pick. But I think Jesper Wallstedt right now, if you were to redraft that draft, he is way inside the top 15 for where you would take it, probably even top 10, frankly. You're going to have Charlie Stramel, who he was a later first round pick, but with his resurgence, if you do a redraft of there, would he, move back up a little bit? And then you throw the extracurriculars on with either a third round pick or maybe another prospect or something along those lines. So the 3 top 15 picks, in a sense, you can, what's the money ball? You can recreate it in the aggregate where you're kind of getting all this value, and it sort of resembles 3 top 15 picks if you kind of squint and you look at it from a distance and at an angle. So I think there is a deal that actually I would be okay living with and seeing the Wild do. It would probably be pretty hefty, and he's a top center. This team needs a top center. I just think you're going to have to make a move. It would be more beneficial to make a move now and take a chance on a guy like that while he's available and everybody knows he's available versus wait, hope this season goes your way, and then you make that big move or you make some sort of move for a guy in the offseason where it doesn't.
Here's your problem, though. Your problem is this. If you bow out in the first round, okay, which is possible. If you bow out in the first round, Quinn Hughes doesn't sign an extension on July 1st. Halfway through, or at some point next season, if Quinn's like, I'm not going to sign here long term, and I know he loves it here, folks. I know he's like appears to be gleeful.
State of hockey.
He calls it
gleeful about the state hockey. Gleeful. Behind those dead eyes is a man that loves it here. But if he doesn't sign here, you're going to have to trade him at some point too. So like this is where you're in a real pickle. Like, it's not a bad place to be because it's really exciting and this team is good, but it is a pickle because you don't want to get halfway through next season. You bowed out in the first round because you didn't make a move. Now is there a case to be made they could make an offseason trade for like, I don't know, who are Quinn Hughes' best friends? I'm sure they're all really good at hockey. Kachuk, right?
Brady
right?
is his best friend,
Okay.
according to Matthew. Yes, that is his bestie.
So is there a possibility? Yes, but I do think, and the other thing too, and Bill Guerin's not going to care about this, but the other thing that's really intriguing too is if this Giannis to the Wolves deal goes down, the Wolves could make another long playoff run, and if you're out in the first round, guess who's going to see that? Craig Leopold. So I'm just throwing it out there that there's a lot of interesting things here at play. And if you don't get a center, I'm sorry. I don't see it. I watch this team without, Hartman and hey, you got a fan, Jessi.
I'm willing to trade all 3 of them for a bag of pucks. 100%.
Wow, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. He's got glasses. Come on. Oh, look, he loves his mom.
Mm-hmm.
We interrupt the show for a moment.
It's the great argument in face. So this is, you talk about legendary matchups, the U.S. versus the Soviets, right? This is kid versus
Jessi
kid
against the
based
kids?
on, it's me versus 3, but I'm outnumbered. Everyone else is in the
Okay.
penalty box.
How many no move clauses and no trade clauses in that
Apparently
household?
they're all under no moves. Apparently I can't even
Well,
get to ship them anywhere. They
that's
are very
exactly-
picky people, and their list of demands is long.
It's high.
It's
I'm gonna
they're
give
mad
you
because they don't have. I gave them breakfast.
What?
I fed
What's
them,
wrong? Yeah.
and they
Wow.
apparently are
Both?
arguing that they have. Oh, there's all 3 of them. The other one is being good. He's the favorite today. He's moved to the number
he
1.
doesn't
He's
have to write
skyrocketed top of the list.
So he's not going to have to write an apology note at this point.
Oh, and those were very weak apology notes, weren't they, folks? Yes, last week the children wrote apology notes because I took away their tablets. They were more upset about the tablets being removed versus any harm they caused me. But this,
Of course they were.
it's my life.
Oh, they weren't sorry
Crawl on out,
because
children. All right, Ace, go.
they weren't sorry because they made noise that interrupted you at all. They were sorry because you took away their tablets and
Then
proved
have an
again
orange.
in her Brooks.
That was the
fashion,
argument. That was what they needed to know. Like, well, she already had 1 orange. I'm like, let her have 2. They're oranges. I don't care. Like,
They're
they're
good for you.
oranges.
They
They're
quite
good for
literally
you.
grow on trees. Like,
They're like
You know what?
the orange.
You need to expand your Herb Brooks game.
I do.
That's what you
I
should
do.
do. Herbie.
Which I love. I
Gassers.
do love that that documentary, which I know we've all watched now, right? On Netflix. We've all seen
I
it.
got about
Yes.
20 minutes left. I wasn't able to finish it.
I do love how it was
They
very
win.
apparent, like he was an a-hole, man. Like they did not like him, right? Like that was there. It was touched on lightly in the movie, but it's a Disney movie, right? Like, oh, it's great.
Yep.
It's Kurt Russell. We love
Yeah,
it.
I got
Like
thought on that.
the true fact of like the players being like, no, we did not like him at
Yes.
all. Like he was such a prick, and like I love that,
But I-
like because I believe it. And even like his son Dan, he was like, try living with him, like try
Yeah.
living
Oh,
with that,
yeah.
right? Like,
Oh my God,
incredible.
yeah. Great
I-
coach, but yeah.
I love the little moment where I think it was the game against Czechoslovakia where Mark Johnson gets like cross-checked in the throat or whatever, and they cut to him and they got the footage. First off, I was surprised by how much pretty high quality footage of
Yeah.
the games that they had, because I'm used to seeing the grainy TV. I mean, Judd, you watched this in person, like
Yeah.
growing up, but like I didn't realize they had this many angles and this much footage. But it's him on the bench being like, hey, we'll make you swallow that stick 3. Like talking at some guy who probably doesn't understand English, but like threatening him. And it cuts back to the present day Miracle team. And they're like, it showed, as much as he might have hated us at times, he really had our back. And he
Right.
just knew how to push their buttons. It was incredible.
Well, as they said, though, it was Mark Johnson who was one of, if not the best player on the team. And they
Yeah.
were exactly right. And he was right, too.
Yeah.
In fact, I do want to expand on this conversation. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about a conversation of those who say that you can't stay, dine, and unwind all in one place. And I say, au contraire, yes, you can. Mystic Lake is the place to do it. It all starts on the floor. You get the rush of the table games, the hot slots as well. Catch an unforgettable night with the stars in the Mystic Showroom, and then head to the Hop House for the ultimate hangout. Catch all the big games, massive screens. It's outstanding. Enjoy ice cold beer, great apps, great food as well. Fuel up with wings and burgers, or savor lobster and steak at the Mystic Steakhouse. I could go on, but I'm going to tell you right now, how nice would it be to spend time at Mystic, have fun, and then stay there in the hotel and head to the spa? I mean, my God, you talk about stay, dine, and unwind. Mystic Lake is the place to do it. Book your getaway at mysticlake.com, mysticlake.com. And Jessi, tell us all about bricks and minifigs.
Well, when your kids are behaving and not misbehaving, interrupting work or doing anything, I do suggest you take them to Bricks and Minifigs. There's a location near me in Roseville. Fantastic spot where you can trade your collection. You can buy a bunch of little Lego pieces. One-stop Lego shop, hundreds of pre-built sets as well, retired sets, hundreds of gallons of loose Legos. And again, you can buy, sell, or trade whatever your Lego dreams maybe. You can find it at Bricks and Minifigs. Start that next adventure at the Bricks and Minifigs location in Roseville and use code SCORE10 at checkout for an extra 10% off used sets. That's SCORE10. Get yourself an extra 10% off when your children are good. It is a great spot. We've taken them there and they behaved well. So that was nice.
Well, perhaps you should take them back there when you're recording and just leave them there.
I should. There's so many places that I would just leave them. A fire station. I don't know. In a field. Go be free. Children. It's frowned upon.
Hey, just to ask here, how much time, Jessi, before the kids have to get to school, how much time do you have left to talk about this?
I got 15 minutes.
Oh, you got 15 minutes. Okay, perfect. So the documentary, if you have not seen it on Netflix, and I think it's the 3rd or 4th pretty good one done in the last 15 years or so on the 1980 Olympic Miracle on Ice team. I think this is a great conversation between us because I'm 56. I actually got home from school and listened. So Hubbard 1500 at the time carried the game live. I don't think they were supposed to, but they did it. And so I got home and listened to the end. And the one thing the documentary didn't do was, I don't know if they didn't care or what, but they did not really do a good job of saying that game was on tape delay. It was shown at night. People think that game, the two misconceptions are that it was shown live, which it was not. It was an afternoon game, partially because the U.S. team was supposed to get blown out. And then the other part was, a lot of people think that was for the gold because it was such a huge win. That was not the game. Of course, the Sunday after against Finland was. The U.S. obviously won that game. But what do you guys like? And Jessi, I know that you're obsessed with this now, but you were born well after that. AJ was born a long time after that. So let's start with you, Jess. What do you know about that? And what I'm curious about is, how much did the movie impact you? Because my theory is that the movie had a huge impact because I feel like that team and that game was a little bit like the Beatles were to me. I miss the Beatles by
Hmm.
a lot. But I love them, but I also, had to learn about them afterwards. So I feel like the movie had a huge impact and it was a great film, but to your point, it was a Disney film. So, like, what do you think of as fact and fiction about that team?
Yeah, the movie was huge for me, I'll admit. And that came at a time I was early high school, I think, when it was released, probably sophomore year or whatever. And that's when I was just starting to find a hockey fandom, period. So for me, it was kind of like, oh, cool, this is a hockey movie too. And I'm learning a little bit more. And then for whatever reason, it clicked and I was like, I'm obsessed. But before that, even I had read a book called The Boys of Winter, which I don't know if you guys
Yep.
have read. It's so freaking good. Like it really gives you the nitty gritty. And I found that book cool because I actually worked at a restaurant with Buzz Schneider's kid, Neil. And I was like, you're in this book? Like it's all about your dad and everything. Like it was pretty funny stuff there. But so that was kind of my introduction. And then yeah, Miracle though, it just sent me over. I don't know what it was about the movie. Like I think there's obviously it just tugs at your heartstrings. It's hard not. I mean, I still get goosebumps every time they do that countdown, and never like what's going to happen. But I thought it was so fascinating. And then yeah, you sprinkle in documentaries like this or Red Army. I don't know if you guys have seen Red Army too, where it's from the Soviet
It's
perspective.
fantastic.
It's
It's
so
freaking
freaking good.
fantastic.
It tells you why they were so dominant for so long and
Yeah.
how that really illustrated it's I think it's on Prime Age if you ever want to check it out.
Okay.
It's freaking incredible. That's where I got to meet all the 1980s players is because I went to that movie premiere here in Minneapolis.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so
Awesome.
our company had kind of helped market and orchestrate it when I had worked at an agency. So they're like, "Do you want to go to this?" And I was like, yeah. And I ended up taking shots with some of the 80s guys, and it was so cool. Like it was the highlight. I was for 26-year-old Jessi. I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. But yeah, it was I've always just really for me, that is my McDavid or my, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, like those guys excite me because what they achieved will never be achieved again. I think now we're hitting a point where there is that exhaustion. I think Buzz Schneider said it in the documentary, like, man, you sure wish there'd be another 80 Olympic, but it's not about them winning gold. It was about the political landscape. And again, I wasn't around, as you'd mentioned, Jeb, but I think all these movies and all these books have illustrated that so well. Like this was so monumental because it was not about the hockey game at all. The hockey game, and I've seen half of it when I was working at USA Hockey, itself was horrible. Like, because at that time it was all about just pinning the puck against the boards and just kind of waiting it out. Like it's very slow. And I don't know, Judd, if you felt that way too. Like for me, from the NHL or the hockey that I'm used to watching, to watch that game was not great.
It's a different world.
Like it's not great hockey. It wasn't fun to watch. But I think there's just, you'll never be able to replicate what that game meant, what that eventual medal meant, excuse me, because you don't have that animosity in that political landscape. I mean, people waiting in line to get gas. And again, I thought Disney illustrated all of that leading into the actual start of the movie too. I do love talking to Lou Nanny about it too, because he doesn't particularly care for how he was portrayed in the Disney movie. Kind of just a smug a-hole, but he was
the doubter, right? He's
yeah, exactly.
And
like
the
he was
actor
the
had
one,
like a bad wig on or something.
terrible
if I remember
wig.
right.
It was just have a hard time finishing 7th at Lake Placid. I'll quote the whole movie. That's what I did during the documentary. I wouldn't shut up. I was like, oh, this is where this scene would be said. But yeah. Did that answer the question? I don't even know if that answered any of the questions.
Yeah,
I just love those movies.
I'm just curious to get your perspective, not having been there, but being a huge fan of it. Like I said, to me, that team is what the Beatles were to me. Like I didn't see them; they're a rock group, but in my opinion, they'll never be surpassed. So, like to your point, you're living off what you've seen and observed and know, but you're still you're enamored by something that at the end was bigger than a hockey team. And that's why, like, I think it's great to get different viewpoints. Age, what was yours?
Well, when the movie came out, that was my first like inkling into it. Like I remember going to the premiere. It was Friday, February 6th, 2004, and I remember going to the AMC around my house. My dad took my sister and I so that was coming up on my 7th birthday. It was only a couple days after that, but I remember like a crowd in the lobby, and the local news was there, and I was on the news, and they were like, "Oh, do do you want to talk about, how excited you were to see this movie? And I remember this whole thing, and people are like, well, what do you know about Herb Brooks? I'm like, who? Because, I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
But then I watched it, and immediately I kind of get this, I don't know, I understand how big the game is. But like Jessi pointed out, me being a dumb little kid, I don't recognize the social importance of it too.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older and I'm not super political as is, but I understand world tensions and war and conflicts and stuff like that. That is now, with all the information, built this up to one awesome hockey story, like blanket amazing underdog. Everybody loves an underdog story. But then you throw in everything else that is on top of it, and you can probably understand, put yourself into, Jim in Idaho, who maybe has never watched a game of hockey in his life. All of a sudden he's tuning in. And granted, that's kind of what the Olympics are for some people, winter or summer. You kind of just start rooting for the people that represent your country, whether it's speed skating. I don't care about it 3.5 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
But then I care about it for a couple weeks every 4 years. Similar to that, these people are being introduced to the hockey team, and maybe that's not their thing. This now catapulted, and I don't think without that that week or two in Lake Placid, the hockey culture in Minnesota and where we are, this podcast might not be as, it might not even be a thing if they don't do what they did in 1980. So it's definitely one of those where the way that you reference it, Judd, where it's the Beatles, where you didn't really watch them, but you understand how good they are, and nothing's ever going to top it. I don't see this team going out over the next 3 weeks and just beating the brakes off of every single team they face. It doesn't matter. It's not going to be anywhere close to the importance.
It's professionals. That's and that's not a problem. It's best on best. But like you will never recap. Like, these were amateurs beating the Russians.
Yeah.
And remember, so it feels like now in the country, obviously, there's a lot of strife internally. Like, it's an us thing. Mm-hmm. That was the Cold War, and the Russians, who we despised and had despised for years and years and years, and they had a professional team, and you had a bunch of kids take them down. And just to your point about the game itself, now at the time the game didn't seem slow. If you watch it now, it seems slow, but I mean, if you watch a game from 1986 now, it seems slow. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about the National Hockey League. But what it was also was, and this is where Herbie was so important, it was a systematic takedown of a team that was unbeatable, and he figured out how to beat them. Mm-hmm. And so it was literally, you were literally beating the Russians. Like, you took them down. It was, and at the time you hated them. The Cold War, hard to describe now in retrospect. I don't know, because there's just so much different the world is. Mm-hmm. But that to me was the thing. You took down the very power that you couldn't stand. And the last thing before I throw it back to Jessi is, back then it was the big bad Russians. We were the plucky. We were far more plucky.
They were cowboy. Like, I think that was also,
I mean, our country was
that.
far more plucky, right? Like the Russians were the bad. The Russians, I feel like we are now more the bad guys in the world. Yeah. Back then, the Russians were the bad guys for sure. So anyway, a moment in time that you probably can't capture, but once every 100 years.
Yeah.
If you're lucky.
Well, and I think the documentary, that was my favorite aspect of it, is it reminded you that these were just a bunch of college kids. Like, they're very off-cuff remarks in the post game. Like, you could tell they maybe had a couple brewskis afterward.
I don't recall seeing those.
Right? Like, and I think some of this was unsurfaced. Like, I don't know where that else would have aired, but it was very interesting to see. Like, it just brought you back. Like, these are 21, 22-year-old kids who just did this incredible thing. And like you mentioned, now they have to follow up a very emotional victory and go try to win gold, and for them to be able to do that is incredible in that grand scheme. But the one thing that I have to remind people too, it resonates so hard with us because of the Minnesota connection. I think there's no way around that. I think for me too, that was that first thread, and I was like, oh, and they're all from Minnesota. Like, we love here in Minnesota, we love here in hockey. And it was so true, because we create hockey players that are special. You have Herb Brooks, there's that, and then there's also the reminder. So whenever some hockey players generally ask, like, what's your favorite hockey movie? 9 times out of 10, people say Miracle, right? except Canadians, which I think is so funny because I have my Canadian friends remind me, they're like, we don't care about that movie. We don't care about like what happened with the Americans and the Russians. And I was like, but it's such a good hockey movie. They're like, no, it's not. It's a big, it's a part of a propaganda piece. Like, oh, USA hockey is amazing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's a really valid point. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how you can't love this movie. They're like, it has literally nothing to do with Hockey Canada. And I was like, fair, very fair.
How did Canada? I always forget. How did Canada do in that?
They
Olympics?
didn't do well, I don't think, in that
No.
Olympic.
Yeah.
Like,
No
I
wonder why
think
they
there
don't
was
like
the
the movie.
stretch where they weren't good. Like, it wasn't. But then there was a big contention in like the 70s, right, where it was Canada and the U.S. or was it, or not Canada, Canada and the Russians, or was that Czech?
I think
and
you're
the
thinking about the Canada
Russians?
Cup,
Yeah, they had the Canada
Oh,
Cup.
which was
yes,
the pros.
yes. Okay.
Yes.
and those were great.
Okay.
Yeah, the Canadian Olympic amateur teams, I don't think were great.
Yeah.
Well, and heck, the U.S. was not supposed to be great. But yeah, like Canada, I don't know what the climate was there as a country. I mean,
Mhm.
our climate just sucked. It was all of the things. But that's where I think the movie is interesting because you're right, Jessi. At the end of the day, it was a Disney film.
Yeah.
And so, like, when you see stuff like this documentary, you sort of get a little bit more of the reality of things. And the fact that, to your point, Herb Brooks, I mean, he was a great coach, but he knew what he was doing and he knew he couldn't be their friend. And the McClanahan stuff, of course, is famous, the candy ass line.
Which always bugged me as a kid because I that was something I heard daily. So I was like, why is he so mad at being like?
You were
if
called
you're
a
that-
candy
if-
ass daily.
Well, I would hear it whether at school or around the house, whatever. But so I was just like, it didn't dawn on me as a almost 7-year-old. Like they're changing the dialogue probably here a little bit. Did you guys see the little nugget? This wasn't even on the document, but Jack O'Callahan joined Spittin' Chicklets, and he shared a little nugget about the Herbie, the death skate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
did
didn't
see
even
that.
participate in that.
Well, and another note, and I didn't get this from that. I've been meaning to listen to that pod, but Ruzioni was on with somebody a week or two ago, and the McClanahan O'Callahan fight never happened. And they're
Yeah.
like, and if it was going to happen, it wasn't going to be McClanahan. He was going to go for somebody else. Like, he's like, OC would have maybe fought somebody, but it wasn't going to be Mac. And I was like, oh, it's like my favorite freaking scene in that entire movie, or one of them, right? Like, so like those little things, which of course you're added for dramatic effect, and so much of that is. But then there's other iterations too. Like, I've watched the making of the movie, like the way that they tried so hard to make sure every game scene was exactly like it was in the actual film, or even obviously putting Al Michaels. So like there are some things that are so to a T, and then some of them that are for dramatic effect. But like,
Right.
I just it's fascinating. It's just so fascinating to me. I get chill. I took a picture with the actor that played Mike Rizioni one time. I'm mortified by that. Just absolutely mortified. I paid $20 for it because it was it was just stupid. It felt stupid. He wasn't even the best actor in my opinion.
Well,
And
no,
I
no.
got
Jim
it.
Craig.
I was walking around
Yeah.
at the Let's Play Hockey Expo, and I was like, "Oh, hey, can I get a picture?" He's like, $20, and I was like,
Did he really?
okay.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
It was
That's
really
a jackass
bizarre
move on his part.
It's a
That's a
really
terrible
bizarre
move.
interaction.
I'm
Well, and
glad,
it's like he wasn't at a booth; he was just walking
Still.
around, and I was like,
But I mean, how?
"Sure."
like, buddy, you're lucky I recognize.
But
you.
he should have been.
I
Yeah,
know.
exactly. He should have been flattered by that, not insisting on things.
Yeah,
I'm glad
it was-
Ralph Cox got a little of a spotlight in the
Yes.
documentary too. That pull behind the scenes, because I've always thought it was exactly what it was in the movie,
Added.
where after a practice, hey, Coxie, Herb wants to
That's-
talk to you. He goes in there, breaks the bad news, and that was kind of it. The fact that they were at the hotel, he gets a call, has to deal with this car ride going to the offices or whatever. Or no, he went to a hotel to like meet him in a
Yeah.
conference room or something like that. And he's like, I get it. And for everybody who hasn't watched it, still, I implore you to go do so. But he gets into the room and he's like, Herb didn't say a word for 10
Yeah.
minutes.
That part
Right.
of the story is actually well known because
Okay.
it had come out at the time that Herb was the last cut in 60.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
They had said that Herb had a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
Because he really didn't hate these guys. Like, he took guys from, and back at that time, the only hockey was basically played Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Michigan. And so he knew that the guys from Mass and the guys from here hated each other.
Yeah.
And had competed in college. And so, like, he literally had to convince them somehow to become one. And he's like, okay, if they hate me, They will, because there was a deep hatred there between those two at the start of things. I will say though, the best part to me will always be the speech before the Finland game. And the fact that he pivoted around and said effing grave and
Yeah.
walked out. I said, you
Yeah,
will
that
take
was
this to your
so good.
effing grave. That's really good.
Great.
But the part that gets me like emotional is to turn around and say effing grave and
Right.
walk out of the room.
Yeah.
And I will say this, there's never been one of those documentaries that I have not started to cry.
Aw.
Oh, a
See,
little
love.
tearjerker.
I did not
Oh
love
God, yeah. The
ES
emotion on that thing gets me every time.
that
Every time.
ESPN one. I was not a huge fan of. Like that one did not give me the feels
Same.
that this one did, or again Red Army, or even Miracle. Like I just didn't care for. I was very underwhelmed, and maybe it's because I have all of this stuff on like such a high threshold.
Right.
But I remember watching, it, I was like, I'm so excited because generally I love. I think it was technically a 30 for 30, right? That one, or
Yeah.
was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was.
love 30 for 30s in every single athletic endeavor, but that one I was just like, huh, that left me wanting so, and I didn't feel like I learned anything. Whereas this one, like you said, those little nuggets of or euphemisms that Herb Brooks was known for, but to hear the actual ones in his voice, or even like, I'm not trying to put greatness in you, I'm trying to pull it out, and like all
Oh,
of
that's
that,
great.
like it was. I mean,
Agreed.
there's so many great nuggets that he had, and like, and I think Miracle did a good job. Again, I could go on about this. We could have a whole episode about the movie. Did a great job at like addressing those things. Like I think in Miracle, the movie, because I have a memory of this, it's Doc and Greg Patrick in line to get gas, and Greg is like, well, he's ending up with 30 players that hate his guts, and Doc goes, well, maybe if they hate him, they won't have time to hate each other. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. Like,
That was the point. That
Yeah.
that was but yeah, no, this film, if you have not seen this, the documentary, it is absolutely fantastic. It's really good. It's what, an hour and 30 or something? It's not that long.
Hour
they
no,
40.
it's not.
yeah, they crammed but they cram a lot in,
Yeah.
and it's great stuff. Now, if you're expecting the same thing in the upcoming Olympic Games, you're probably it's going to be a great tournament. It's not going to be the same. Just knock on wood and hope that everyone can stay as healthy as possible. So
Is
that
the
we
rink
get-
built?
The rink is built. The rink is up and running, and
The
I think
stands
the
aren't
lock.
finished, and the ice is very brittle, is what I heard.
Oh,
The ice
really?
is
Okay.
very
I
brittle,
saw
and
the rink is-
stands are still working.
I saw the rink is done. The locker rooms are a work in progress or something like that. Hey, look, these people all went to go to go play.
Yeah.
It was their decision. So you know what? I don't really care. Go out there and play, and if you get hurt, then you'll have to answer to me, because I will have some criticisms of your deciding to go play, especially if you were previously hurt. Quinn Hughes. Anyway, that's all. That's all we got time for. AJ, Jessi, Sports Dad. We will see you soon. Believe me, Judd's Hockey Show will not slow down, even if the National Hockey League has.